to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith from the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 in Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. You can also find us on the radio this week, live to tape on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area. If you are tuning in and you usually listen to us on The Biff and you're going to go out and listen to the rest of the program on the radio, today and this week, they will not be live with us on the radio. They will broadcast us live to tape sometime in between their other regular program, and they do have special programming going on this week. We do encourage you, if you're in that area, to support their broadcast and tune in to that special programming. However, they will not be with the Megacast live this week. They will be live to tape 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and beginning at 11 o'clock on My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyMy, at mymytv.com, where you can learn more about downloading their free MyMyTV apps for your smartphone and your smart TV. Take the Megacast and other original programming from MyMy home with you or on the road by visiting mymytv.com. All that information is on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find all of our programs on demand as well as each individual interview. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics such as masking and social distancing, as well as vaccinations and booster shots. Also on our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you up to date on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across the Great Lakes state. Our top story today is from Bridge, Michigan, and it's their coronavirus tracker. These are numbers from Friday. Today's Monday. Monday is another day that they will be releasing their numbers. The MDHHS will be releasing updated numbers, but these are Friday's numbers that were released in the afternoon. 2,770 new cases and 50 more deaths in the state of Michigan, including 825 old backlogged cases. Without the older cases, the state averaged 972 new cases per day for Thursday and Friday, or 1,385 with them. The state also reported 50 additional COVID-19 deaths, including 35 that followed a review of medical and health records. Because of the backlogged cases, the percent of positive tests over the past 2 days was 6.7%, well above the 3.3% average over the past week. It's unclear when the backlogged cases actually occurred, however, so those numbers, that 6.6%, may not be a correct snapshot in time of the percent positive rate across the state at this moment in time. The state's 164 hospitals reported treating 624 patients who have been confirmed or suspected of having COVID-19, down from 690 on Wednesday. It also appears many of the backlogged cases came from Metro Detroit, with Detroit reporting 680 cases, nearly 7 times more than the 102 reported on Wednesday. There were 489 new cases in suburban Wayne County, up from 219 on Wednesday, and case counts were elevated in both Oakland, Washtenaw, and Macomb counties as well. The state said that the 825 cases were from, quote, a backlog of previously unreported historic test results received and processed, and closed quote, on March 17th. That full article from Bridge, Michigan, on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, also making headlines there. From the Detroit News, a 3-year flex route project is set to begin today on Interstate 96 in Oakland County. Road work will begin on a 3-year project to turn part of Interstate 96 in Oakland County into a route that utilizes the median shoulder to alleviate rush hour congestion. Drivers will start encountering lane closures and diverted traffic for I-96 Flex Route project between Kent Lake Road and in Lyon Township and the Interstate 275, M5, and 696 interchange in Novi in May, after about 2 months of preparation, according to MDOT. The The project, Michigan's second quote-unquote flex route, will rebuild the median shoulder so that it can be used as an additional lane during morning and afternoon peak travel hours. Cameras and electronic message boards will be used to let drivers know when the lane is available for use. Quote, "It's pretty simple. No one likes sitting in traffic. It takes away from valuable time at home with friends or at work," said Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Orange cones and barrels are hitting the road as work begins on our flex route, where the freeway shoulder can be used by motorists during peak travel times to save drivers time on their commutes, and close quote. A flex route system is a lane control system that uses cameras and electronic messages to alert drivers when an extra lane, the rebuilt median shoulder, is available, according to the Michigan Department of Transportation, or MDOT. The first flex route was installed on US 23 north of Ann Arbor in Washtenaw and Livingston counties. The flex route is slated for a stretch of the freeway that sees an average of 88,534 cars per day, according to MDOT metrics. It will cost an estimated $269 million and is funded through Gretchen Whitmer's Rebuilding Michigan program, the governor said. Starting in May and through the late fall, work will begin between Kent Lake Road and Wixom Road, and eastbound and westbound traffic will be shifted onto the westbound lanes, with 2 lanes open in each direction to accommodate the rebuilding of eastbound lanes. In that time, traffic will have 3 eastbound lanes and 2 westbound lanes between Wixom Road and the I-75, M5, I-696 interchange, and the following ramps will be closed until late fall: the northbound and southbound Kent Lake Road ramps to eastbound I-96, the northbound and southbound Milford Road ramps to eastbound I-96, and the eastbound I-96 exit ramps to Milford and Wixom Roads. The Milford and Wixom Road ramps to westbound I-96 in 2023 will also be closed. In 2023, the rebuilding will continue on eastbound I-96 from Wixom Road to the I-275, I-696, and M5 interchange, and traffic will have 2 eastbound lanes and 2 westbound lanes shifted into the westbound side of the freeway through these limits. The following year, westbound I-96 will be rebuilt from the I-275, I-696, and M5 interchange to Kent Lake Road. I-96 traffic will be shifted to the eastbound side of the freeway with 2 lanes open in each direction. In addition to rebuilding the median shoulders, the project will include sign upgrades and active traffic management installation, including intelligent transportation systems equipment, overhead gantry installation, and ramp signals for metering traffic onto the freeway. Electronic message boards will alert drivers with speed advisories and travel information. The first flex route was installed on US 23 north of Ann Arbor from M14 to M36 in Washtenaw and Livingston counties in 2017. Lastly, making headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from the Detroit Free Press. You heard it first on our network on Larry and Maddie Live from 1 to 2 p.m. weekdays on My Michigan TV or My. And now on the Megacast, you hear the resolution of the story. Here's where the small cabin stolen from an up north property was recovered. A small brown cabin with a white door and metal roof, reported stolen from a northern Michigan property, has been recovered. The Houghton Lake Post of the Michigan State Police located the cabin on March 15th, according to a news release. The cabin was found using leads and tips from the public at a residence in Orange Township located in Kalkaska County, MLive.com reported. Orange Township, according to Google Maps, is an area south of where the cabin was reportedly stolen. A photo released by the Michigan State Police shows some damage to the cabin. Plywood covers in the entryway to the cabin. Yellow caution tape surrounds the cabin as well. The metal roof also shows some damage. The owner of the cabin reported it stolen in February. The 12 by 28 foot cabin was last seen between November 18th and December 16th, set on County Road 571 in Cold Springs Township, also in Kalkaska County. When the cabin was reported stolen, Trooper Matthew Scott, who was investigating the case, told the Detroit Free Press then the cabin's owner lived in it for a couple of years until he left it to take up residence somewhere else. Recently reported the 12-foot by 28-foot structure missing, but he's unsure what happened to it or why anyone would want to steal it altogether. Two suspects are believed to be involved in the threat, according to reports, and the case is still under investigation. That full article, as well as all of our headlines, on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, in addition to those ever helpful links to accurate information from experts on the front lines of the pandemic. To tell you more about COVID-19 from the CDC, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, all that, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Keep yourself up to date on COVID-19 and everything else that's making headlines all across the great state of Michigan. We have an excellent program ahead on this Monday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up, we'll be joined by Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter, who will review his recent State of the County address, some programs that are being undertaken in Oakland County, kind of their vision also for the next 5 years or so of the future, and some of those programs that are becoming more critical as we slowly come out of the pandemic and as we consider the context of the pandemic. He'll join me in just a few minutes at 10:20, and then at 10:40, we'll sit down with Chris Gautz from the Michigan Department of Corrections. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. It's just a talk. That's all coming up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Joining us now is Oakland County Executive David Coulter, who recently made his State of the County address. Executive, thank you for being with us this morning.
Tyler, always great to be with you. Thanks.
Appreciate having you on. So can you touch on some of the highlights of the topics that you emphasized last night at the State of the County address? It was the night before the date that we are recording this, and that this is live on the Oakland County Megacast. And obviously it's been another complicated year here in Oakland County. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different factors to consider. What are some of the highlights that you went over last night at your State of the County address?
Yeah, thanks. What I really tried to do is lay out sort of a 5-year roadmap for the future. What does Oakland County really need to make sure that it's paying attention to, leaning into, investing in over the next 5 years to make sure that we remain a competitive and great place to live? And so, some of those buckets include a strong economy, right? We know that Oakland County is a good place economically. You can get a good job here. But are we doing enough for our small businesses? So I touched on that. Safe and healthy communities. That's safe and healthy people, I should say. And we know how important that is. Our health, but also our communities being safe places. And we talked about that. And then finally, I kind of have this last bucket that I would just say, letting people live their best lives. The kinds of things like parks and trails and workforce development that really help make this an exceptional county to be. So I laid out this 5-year plan, and just as importantly, I want to say this. I want to hold us accountable. We have goals and we have measures, and we're going to have data around these plans. And now, as of now, you can go to our website at oakgov.com, and all of these goals will be there, and the measures will be there. So you can hold us accountable to achieving the things that I talked about last night.
We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Megacast. More information on their website, oakgov.com. And so a big factor in all of this over the last couple of years has been COVID-19. And it looks like we're in a much more relaxed place now, and things are looking up for the first time in a long time as we've been dealing with this pandemic. But COVID-19 is not going away just yet. So at this moment in time in Oakland County, what's been the conversation between your office, between the board, and of course between the Oakland County Health Division and its approach to continuing to protect the community and advise the community on what is happening on the COVID-19 front, while also understanding that uncertainty should be playing a factor into plans for the future?
Yeah, it's a great question because, as you put it so well, COVID is not over, but as the numbers indicate, as the transmission rate indicates, we are at a different place now. Our transmission rate now is considered low by CDC standards, which is what we've used from the beginning. They've modified those standards somewhat, but we are at a low transmission rate. And so that allows us to do more free things. We don't have the mask requirement in schools right now or in indoor settings. So the transmission rates have guided this. We've tried to follow the science as best we could from the beginning of this. As you indicate, there could be spikes. Our health department is always monitoring this on a daily basis. And we're also talking to our health system, our hospitals, to see what's happening there. So the good news is we are at a different place, and that's what made me feel comfortable giving sort of a more of a forward-looking 5-year outlook versus just talking about how we're going to get through, the pandemic and the terrible things, that has wreaked on us. So I do think we're in a very different place, but well said. We may have to reinstitute measures at some point, depending on what the virus forces us to do.
And you mentioned refocusing goals for the county going forward in that 5-year plan, some of those benchmarks, some of the ways that you and by you I mean the county is aiming to accomplish those goals. Something else to refocus on after COVID-19, or as we begin to find our way maybe out of the COVID-19 pandemic, is the role of public health in our communities. Because in the past, it's been, of course, preventing spread of the disease, whether it's West Nile virus outbreaks, or if it's the seasonal flu or common cold or some other disease that may be coming through the community. That's kind of been that role. But we've seen over the course of the pandemic, not just COVID-19, but other conditions that have previously been kind of pushed to the side, such as mental health, being something that's considered much more critical to the public health now in the context of what we've been through with COVID-19. How does that help to inform both your office and the Oakland County Health Division in refocusing its goals going forward?
You bring up a great point. Mental health was a problem before COVID. Not enough people had access. But it's a crisis now. And I've often said that if there's a silver lining to COVID, maybe there's a couple, but one of them is that the stigma around mental health has gone down. It used to be that people were reluctant to get help because they didn't want to be identified as somebody that needed help. But frankly, what we've seen in COVID, anybody can have a mental health issue just like you get a physical health issue. You can be rich or poor, black or white, live in the city or the suburb. It hits everybody. And so one of the things I talked about during this speech is that we're investing $13 million of our American Rescue Plan dollars on mental health services. So that's going to cover our nonprofits in the county, so that if you're a resident and you need access to mental health services, I encourage you to reach out, and we're going to be able to meet another 66,000 people's needs in Oakland County. But we're also going to invest in our students in school, and we're going to invest in our hospitals so that the people that have a mental health crisis and show up in the ER can get help when they get there. So we're leaning in and trying to address the need. But I want to encourage all your listeners, anyone can get it. And if you feel like you have any kind of issues, it's just like a physical health issue. Get it taken care of.
We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. More information on their website, oakgov.com, for more information on county programs and plans going forward, and of course to review and watch for yourself the State of the County address that Executive Coulter made earlier on the week of this recording, on this live broadcast. Again, we're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. Another driving force in the future plans of Oakland County is, of course, on the business end of things. We've seen our commercial businesses, our retail businesses really across the board have also taken a large hit during the COVID-19 pandemic. But we're also seeing there is this sort of drive for industry here in Oakland County and in southeastern Michigan, really across the state, from a variety of different industries, including the automotive industry, really investing in electric vehicle production here in Michigan and here in Oakland County. How much of a role does that play? Does that investment by many different companies, including General Motors here locally, play into Oakland County's plans going into the future?
Yeah, I started my speech by driving into the auditorium in a Chevy Bolt that's made at the Orient Assembly Plant, the GM plant, to highlight the fact that, GM made a $4 billion investment there, the largest investment they've ever made in the history of their company, and the largest private investment ever made in Oakland County. So it was a huge thing, and I think it reaffirms that Michigan is a competitive place in the EV market and that we can compete and win in this space. But what I also talked about in my speech is this: those kinds of big wins are wonderful and we celebrate them when we get them. But most businesses in Oakland County are small businesses, 50 people or less. And that's where we really have to make sure that we're leaning in and giving the resources that they need. Over the last couple of years, we've given 15,000 of them support through the county through grants and toolkits and the like. But going forward, we're going to really lean in on those small businesses. We created a new team, and I announced this at the speech, called Business Forward. And these are 9 business consultants who are not going to work in the office, but are going to work directly in the communities with small businesses, helping make sure that they have the resources, the support, the grant writing, whatever it is that they need to be successful, they can help our small businesses, because that's really the backbone of our economy here in Oakland County.
Especially as we add more industry to Oakland County, another topic that comes to mind is sustainability. That's been a significant buzzword in politics, in industry, in government for a number of years as we attempt to maintain a certain quality of life in our society, but also balance that with the need to protect the environment so that we are able to live that quality of life for a significant amount of time. Later this hour, we'll be joined by Dr. Majgan Raji from Oakland University, who's part of the leadership team from their university sustainability plan. Can you talk about the partnership between the county and Oakland University on sustainability in Oakland County and making plans to accelerate into the future, but do so in a way that is thoughtful, that is considerate, and that is prudent to maintaining our environment?
Yeah, I'm so glad he's going to be your guest. He's smarter about this than I am. The great folks at Oakland University are really leaning into this space and really have become recognized leaders in this space of sustainability at the higher ed level. And we're, I think, really blessed to have Oakland University in this county. And so I announced at my speech a brand new partnership with Oakland University, where they're going to help us do the data and the research and the strategic planning around environmental sustainability. And I can't thank them enough for their help, because, as you said, this is a critical, a moral issue, frankly. If we can do all the other things right, and if we don't figure out how to protect the health of this planet so that we survive as a species, it's all going to be for naught. So I think we have a responsibility to ourselves and our future generations to make sure that we're working in this space as well as we can.
We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. More information from Oakland County, including everything you need to know about the State of the County address that occurred earlier earlier on in this week, that we are both broadcasting live and recording this particular interview on their website, oakgov.com, for more information. oakgov.com to learn more. And so we have a significant Ukrainian population here in southeastern Michigan, really across the state of Michigan, and here in Oakland County. Especially, obviously, our thoughts are with those in Ukraine and those of Ukrainian descent with Ukrainian friends and family who are affected by the barbaric Russian invasion of Ukraine. Knowing that we have such a significant Ukrainian American population and so many that have family and friends or others in their life that are over in Ukraine, what sort of support, either to resources or assisting in directing to resources, is maybe provided through Oakland County to residents who may want to help those in Ukraine as they're dealing with this crisis?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's so devastating what's happening there. The Russian invasion is just unbelievably unacceptable, and I think a lot of us thought we would not see something like that in our lifetime. And as you mentioned, we have a significant Ukrainian American population in this county and in this region, and it was important for me as a leader to stand up and support the democracy that they're fighting so hard to protect. I went to a Ukrainian prayer vigil in Southfield, where there's a Ukrainian church there. It was beautiful. I went there with my friend Andrei Duzhi, who's a leader in the Ukrainian community that I've known for many, many years. I was really proud of the fact that we lit up our county building in the blue and gold of the Ukrainian flag to show support for those folks. And as you said, we're also working to get resources as we can and to help coordinate that for our residents to donate. I would also encourage you, because there's been some bad actors in this field, that if you go to the attorney, and I've talked to the Attorney General about this because she's very concerned, as always, unfortunately, there's bad characters that try to make money off of these sort of tragedies, which is disgusting to me. But if you go to her website, at the Attorney General's website, she's also tracking who not to give money to, who to give and to not give money to. So I encourage your folks to do them. And then just otherwise, if you're a praying person, to hold the folks in Ukraine in your prayers and thoughts, because they need all of our strength right now.
Yeah, we had a couple of interviews recently, too, with more information on how you can determine legitimate actors in relief for Ukraine. We had Sam Rosenberg on yesterday, who's a co-founder of Share Detroit, and they just created a new effort, Share Ukraine, at shareukraine.org. And we had Melanie Ducanel from the Michigan Better Business Bureau on with us recently, also talking about those charity scams really early on in the crisis over in Ukraine. So all those good resources, those are on civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you can view both of those interviews. And of course, the Attorney General's office, always helpful in their information on avoiding scams. We're joined by Oakland County Executive David Coulter on the Oakland County Megacast. Last week, related to the Attorney General's office, you were at part of a press conference with the Attorney General, with Dana Nessel, as well as Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard, talking about a $26 billion opioid settlement with the nation's three major pharmaceutical distributors, Cardinal McKesson and AmerisourceBergen, as well as Johnson & Johnson. Can you talk about the settlement, how it affects Oakland County, and more particularly how it affects providing the services and providing the aid that's needed to those that have been affected by the opioid crisis right here in Oakland County?
Yeah, and it is a crisis. There's no question. I think we've all seen that overdoses and deaths are up, in particular because of fentanyl, which is just so much more deadly, and that these opioids have been overprescribed and oversold by these pharmaceuticals. They were wrong, and they got caught for it, and they should have got caught for it, and they have been penalized significantly. And Oakland County is one of the counties that's joined the lawsuit early on, back in 2016, I believe, before I was executive, but I supported it. We did the same when I was mayor of Ferndale, because it's important that we hold these companies responsible for the devastating effects. And we've all seen them. We've seen it in our family. We've seen the addiction that's happened. And so we're going to get a sizable portion of that money, but we're going to get it over 10 years. So it's going to be about $1.5 million a year for the next 10 years. And as promised in the settlement, we'll use every dime of that money to go into drug-related programs, whether it's prevention programs, treatment programs. I'm working with my health director right now to figure out exactly the best way to spend that money. We haven't got it yet, but every nickel of that will go into helping give families and individuals relief from this awful epidemic that we're faced with.
Executive Coulter, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for Oakland County residents to keep in mind in terms of county programs or things that are on the docket that people should be looking forward to and keeping themselves informed on here in Oakland County?
Well, you did a great job of hitting on the main theme, so I really appreciate it. Maybe the last thing I'll throw in is, and I shared this in the State of the County, we've all seen how important our parks are. Sometimes we forget about them or forget the importance of them, but I think in COVID we all found out how important it was to get outside, get some fresh air, connect with nature, reconnect with ourselves. And one of the things I talked about last night is, one of the assets in Oakland County is that we have 138 miles of trails, which are amazing, but my goal, and I stated it at the speech, is to get us to 400 miles. I think I'd love to see a web of trails throughout our communities, throughout our counties, and in the region, so that we can bike ride and ride, walk and whatever else we want to do to get out into nature. So our green spaces continue to be an important asset in Oakland County.
Executive, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Great to see you as always.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary. And if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around. And I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left. Make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com, clicking on our Megacast link, or typing in civiccentertv.com/Megacast. With us now is the spokesperson for the Michigan Department of Corrections, Chris Gautz, back with us on the program. Chris, thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So the Department of Corrections currently has some 400 vacancies for open jobs. Starting at about $18.93 an hour. Why is it so hard? Why has it been so hard for the Department of Corrections to find people to fill these jobs? Is it a lack of interest, a lack of qualifications, a little bit of both?
Well, it's not just the MDOC. It's every corrections department around the country. It's a lot of police agencies around the state, around the nation. And frankly, a lot of businesses obviously are having a hard time finding people that want to work, but also want to work in sometimes very difficult and dangerous jobs. And so we've been aggressively marketing and recruiting and hiring. We have in our budget from the governor the ability to hire 800 new corrections officers this year. The problem is that we lose about 50 corrections officers every single month due to either retirements or promotions or some other combination. So I was just at our corrections officer graduation on Friday in Lansing, where we welcomed more than 160 new officers. And so right now, as soon as that's done, those officers are starting their first day on the job today. And our recruitment division is well on their way to having another recruit class right now, so that when we start the next academy, we'll be able to, in a few months, we'll be able to ready to go and have hopefully just as many, if not more, recruits in those seats for the next academy. We run quarterly academies, so our aim is to have around 200 or so in each class.
We're joined by Michigan Department of Corrections spokesperson Chris Gautz on the Oakland County Megacast. Chris, being that you're losing about 50 staffers per month to retirement or to moving on to other positions, whatever the case may be, and that you have so many openings at this time, and there's a bit of a struggle to fill those jobs, as is commonplace in many different corrections departments throughout the U.S. and many other government jobs and civilian jobs as well throughout the U.S. With that, you have pretty high standards in the Michigan Department of Corrections, as many law enforcement agencies do, for hiring in new staff, or even for giving feelers to new staff to be going through the academies. With that being the case, and with the need to fill these jobs with so many people leaving on a monthly basis, is there a lowering of standards that goes into place for these departments of corrections to then fill these positions? And if that were to occur, what would be the results of those standards being lowered in the output of the work that's being done in our corrections department?
Yes, so we don't have any intention of lowering our standards to bring people in. This is a very difficult job, and it's inherently has some dangers to it. And so lowering our standards would be putting not only those individuals in jeopardy, but also the rest of the staff that are already there, and the prisoners and the community at large. And so we aren't lowering our standards. Some of the things that we have done, and whereas currently you have to have so many college credit hours before you can apply traditionally, before you could come in. And so if we found someone who heard about us and was interested in the job, and then went to apply and then found out that they'd only ever done high school, and maybe they were in another job, maybe they're working in a factory, maybe they're doing security somewhere, and they heard about us and wanted to come work for us. And then we looked and said, well, you don't have any college credits. Now you have to go out and enroll, maybe sometimes they have to save up money to get into community college, to get their credits. And then they could come back a semester or two later, a year later, with those credits, and then they could start. Right before the pandemic, we changed that so that if you don't have the college credits in place, you can start right away with us. And then you have up to 24 months to complete those credits while you're working for us. So that way, as soon as you get hired and you start the academy on day one, you're a state employee and you start receiving a paycheck. So after a few of those, then people could start to enroll and get into the classes and take them online, take them on the weekends, take them at night. And then as long as they get those credits within those 24 months, they can obviously, then their employment continues. And that's been incredibly successful and really opening up the floodgates in terms of applicants who maybe didn't have those credits before, but just wanted to get in the door. And we wanted them in the door, and they've been able to do that successfully. That's been a big help for us.
So, Chris, if this slow trickle that's been going on to fill these open positions continues and persists for a while, what will be the Department of Corrections actions in order to continue to provide the same level of service that it is providing to the state of Michigan, including to Michigan's prisoners, without necessarily needing to suffer these services or reduce the number of services that are being provided because of a lack of staff?
Yeah, so obviously one of the biggest outgrowths of having vacancies is having staff working mandated overtime. And we want to do everything we can to reduce that, because when someone has been on the job for 12, 16 hours and then is off and then maybe gets another mandated shift the next day or the day after, someone who's tired at work isn't as alert. And having staff that aren't as alert as they possibly could be, obviously can spell danger, can lead to lots of things that we don't certainly want to happen in a prison. So there's a number of things that we have been doing. Back last fall, we created an officer recertification program. So for our current employees, not retirees, but our current employees who used to be officers, but maybe have since promoted to another job in the facility, or maybe they've moved over to our field side and they now work as probation agents or parole agents or some other job in the department, they can come back and they can work shifts as an officer in lieu of mandates. And so since that program rolled out back last fall, we've had more than 400 of our current employees who used to be officers have signed up for that and have alleviated well more than 3,000 mandated overtime shifts. The other thing that's been super helpful is that during the pandemic, our prisoner population has declined by about 8,000 prisoners. So there are far, far fewer prisoners to oversee. Right now, our population is at about 32,000, which is the lowest it's been since the 1990s, the early 1990s. So that's been really helpful. And what that's allowed us to do is to close 39 housing units. Right now, actively in our 27 prisons, we have 39 closed housing units. So think of those as like a residence hall on a college campus. We have 39 of those closed right now. So that means that those aren't officers who are having to work in that unit and not staff those positions, and instead they can fill other units and hopefully alleviate mandates. So that's been helpful as well.
We're joined by Chris Gautz, spokesperson for the Michigan Department of Corrections, on the Oakland County Megacast. Chris, in Sunday's paper with the Detroit News, there was an interesting story that was released about that said Michigan prisoners could soon be getting controversial movement tracking wristbands under the governor's current budget plan. It's a secure Wi-Fi network that would have movement tracking wristbands and use tablets in a $40 million proposal in Governor Whitmer's latest budget plans. It's met a couple of different points. On one hand, it's been met with some praise as a way of modernizing tracking of prisoners, as being a method of providing some educational enrichment in Michigan's prisons. On the other hand, because there are going to be movement tracking wristbands in this scenario, it's being looked at as even heavier surveillance. And I think an advocacy group that is opposing these refer to it as mass surveillance. Care to give us some insight into what this program that's being proposed in Governor Whitmer's budget may be, and reaction from the Department of Corrections to some of the opposition that's come forward so far for this potential program?
Sure. This is really a transformational investment opportunity for the department to really come into this century with the use of technology. If you can believe it or not, our system, despite the fact that we have a $2 billion a year budget, is still largely a paper-based system. So think about it, if you were a college student and every day you received a printed out pieces of paper that told you where your class was going to be that day, what time you had medical appointments, doctor visit, what time you had a visit with a relative, all of those things. And then when you went to your class, you then handed that slip of paper to someone at the door. They had to sign it, log it in their logbook on paper, hand it back to you when you left. You had to get it signed again. When you went to your next appointment, you had to hand it to someone. They'd look at your piece of paper, they'd assign their book and their piece of paper, hand it back. That happens all day long in our prisons whenever they have to go to an educational appointment, a doctor's visit. These pieces of paper can be very hard to track. Same thing when a prisoner wants a prescription refilled or would like to see the doctor because maybe their knee is starting to hurt them and they want to have it checked out, or they have an issue with their bunkmate that they aren't getting along, or they have concerns about something. They have to write down on a piece of paper, put it into a box, wait several days for somebody to look at it. Sometimes there's claims that those are lost. Sometimes there's a whole host of things that can come with that. This would move us into a completely electronic system. So when a prisoner needs a prescription refilled, they would get on their tablet or get on a kiosk, they would type in and they would immediately send it to healthcare. Healthcare would receive that in their computer, and they would be able to fill that right away. There's a whole host of benefits to that. Obviously, it makes our officers' job and our employees' jobs much easier, much more productive, so that they're not having to do all this. It also helps the state when it comes to litigation. So say there was an incident, there was an escape, or there was an assault of a staff member or another prisoner by another prisoner. This would allow us to see exactly who was in that area. If they did say, I sent a letter about this issue months ago. Right now, hopefully that letter would exist, but there's a possibility that it may not, or maybe it was never sent by the prisoner, but they claimed it was now, and then it's up to us to prove that they didn't send it or that it didn't get lost, which obviously is hard to prove it negative. But if it's all digital, there's an electronic record of when exactly it was sent, when it was responded to, by whom it was responded to. Sometimes prisoners like to send out 10 different letters on the same subject to a whole host of people across the facility, and then everyone doesn't realize that they were not the only one that got that letter, so they're all working on the same issue. This would allow one person to respond and not have 10 different people doing that. So there's a whole host of benefits to that system. That would be part of this enhanced Wi-Fi system that we're looking to install. Now, this would not be Wi-Fi like you and I are using right now in terms of accessing the outside internet. All this would do would be allow the prisoners to access internal servers so they could review educational materials, especially during the pandemic when we had like our computer coding class right now at the Parnell facility in Jackson. Those prisoners were really affected by the pandemic because they couldn't go into the classroom because of the pandemic. And so that's one of those classes where you really have to be on a computer or on a device to be able to do that kind of work. It's not something that you can just, look through a book. And so it allows prisoners to be able to continue that educational enhancement while they're in their cells. When they're out, out in the yard, they're able to read those materials and do those kind of things. So there's a ton of benefits to it.
So with this program, with these RFID tracking wristbands that would provide some more efficiency in some of those programs, such as transport throughout the facilities from one area to another, making these appointments with doctors, making an inquiry about refilling a prescription and so on. That would be, of course, so much more efficient. But if somebody is concerned, if a prisoner is concerned about further tracking of their every move in these facilities, would this wristband wearing be something that's optional, or would this be a requirement for everybody as an entirely new system? Or would there still be some persisting of the former paper system for those that may be opposed to wearing these wristbands all the time?
No, this would be a requirement. Right now, all prisoners are required to have their prisoner ID card on them. When they go to the chow hall, they have to swipe that card, which is an RFID card that shows that they went into the chow hall, that they've received their meal for that day, because we had a whole bunch of prisoners who were trying to go in the line 2, 3, 4 times. So they swipe it once. We know that they've received it. So they already have some experience with that. Our staff, myself included, have an RFID card that we have to wear. You probably have one to get into your building. It's the same concept. In this case, for the prisoners, it would be a wristband that they would not be able to take off. If they were able to somehow remove it, it would immediately send an alert to our control center to let them know that someone has taken it off, just like we do for the several thousand of those individuals on probation or parole who wear a GPS tether device on their wrist or on their ankle. And so it helps. It's going to help us in a lot of those efforts. So instead of having to hand that paper slip to the officer, they would just walk into the education building. They could put their wrist, up against a monitor or a device, and it would check them in and check them out. So it's as simple as that.
We're joined by Chris Gautz, the spokesperson for the Michigan Department of Corrections, on the Oakland County Megacast. Chris, going back to the some 400 vacancies that, in the Department of Corrections, with jobs starting at a pay of about $18.93. You mentioned that there are a bunch of officer positions. Are there other positions with the Department of Corrections for those that may not be interested in becoming an officer or a corrections officer or being necessarily in contact with prisoners if they're interested in jobs with the Department of Corrections?
Absolutely. And certainly in our facilities, there's certainly going to be obviously contact potentially with prisoners. But, think of prisons are basically like a small city. So everything that you have in a city, you likely have some version of that in a prison. So, we have psychologists, doctors, dentists, nurses, all different kinds of nurses. We are in a desperate need for nursing, not only full-time nurses, but also just on a contractual basis. If somebody wants to come in, maybe they already work in a hospital or a doctor's office and they have Fridays off or they have Tuesdays off and they want to come work one day as a contract nurse, we have those options as well. We've been having to rely on contract nurses quite a bit, but food service, teachers, other assistants, secretarial work, maintenance employees, principals, all that really runs the gamut. So they can go on our website. We have a listing of jobs. We have hiring events and town halls and open houses at pretty much all of our facilities year round. There's a listing of those right at the top of our website. And the great thing is that for state employees, next month, all state employees will be receiving a 1% raise. And then in the fall, in October, all state employees will be receiving a 5% raise. So for corrections officers in particular, that's going to jump their starting pay to just north of $20 an hour. And then after just about 6 years, you top out at just over $30 an hour. So it is a good job. It's got great benefits and the real potential to make a difference in your community and make a difference in the lives of the individuals that you supervise. So it's definitely certainly a job. We like to think of it as a career, but it's also can be a really positive impact and be a real calling for a lot of people.
Chris, before we let you go, anything else this time that would be important for our audience to know about the Department of Corrections, about these job openings or other programs in Michigan's prisons?
I think those are the biggest things. Like I said, right now we just had a graduation, so right now we are in the stage of looking for our next round of recruits. So please, go ahead, go onto our website at michigan.gov/corrections. Look at all the job openings that are there. See in your area. We have, like I said, 27 prisons around the state. We have a number of openings that you can pretty much pick wherever you'd like to go. If you live in one area of the state, but you're young and mobile and you've always wanted to live in the UP because you love hunting or what have you, there could be a number of reasons. We have a job just about in every part of the state, not only either in our prisons, but also in our field offices and other areas.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break on the Megacast here on your radio homes for the program. 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. When we come back, we'll kick off the Michigan Megacast with Todd Whalen from Give My Books. We were going to be joined by Dewey Steffen. He did have to step out. He had another commitment that came up. So we will be joined instead by Todd Whalen from Give My Books, who will talk about an effort to give away over 50,000 books in the Tri-County area over the course of the next year. That's coming up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
COVID-19 pandemic shined a bright light on the literacy gap here in Michigan, and one local organization is looking to help get Michigan reading, giving away an astounding 50,000 books to the community. Give My Books founder Todd Whalen joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Todd, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on with us. Let's begin. For those who are unfamiliar with Give My Books, can you talk about Give My Books and what you've been doing, your organization's been doing with books and other media in our community since 2008?
Yeah, so Give My Books is it's our family business. So what we've been doing is we've been picking up books from people who no longer need them or don't, for whatever reason, directly from people's homes, right off their front porch or another safe, dry location. So that way we collect them. And then as a family business, what we do is we sell them to support our service and to support our family. But not all of them can be sold. So we give as many as possible back to the community. And we've been doing that through a number of different ways.
And so, Todd, what inspired that giving portion of this operation? Obviously, the books that you can resell from your business side, you want to resell and make whatever you can off of them. But the ones that may not be able to be resold but may be useful to the community, they can come very much in handy to educators, to students that may not otherwise have access to those books. So where did that inspiration begin to start that effort?
Yeah, that's good. So back when I started this business, I was a single dad. And so what started it was I was asking people for their books in order to support me as a single dad. But then what I realized was that people, they love their books. They want to know that they're going to a good cause. So what we then did was just start giving them back. And people are giving us books to support our family. So then we want to give back to the community. I actually feel indebted to the community for all the help that they've given through giving their books. So that's the reason why we definitely want to give back to the community.
More information on Give My Books is available at jlcbooksale.com. jlcbooksale.com to learn more information. Last year, you gave away about 30,000 free books. And so it's got to be a massive effort from your team in order to put this effort forward at all. And your goal this year is to surpass that 30,000 almost twice over. Your goal is 50,000 books given away in our communities. So just how big of an effort is it? How many people are involved and the logistics that are involved in making this happen to get these books out into our community?
Yeah, so there's a good amount of effort to this. We've actually done a lot of the digital work using both the websites, givemybooks.com and jlcbooksale.com. They work hand in hand. So what we've been doing is giving books directly to schools in bulk. So like each school, they can get 2 books per student that can be given directly to the students, and then 2 books for the teacher for each of their students. So we're basically just dropping off bulk shipments to these different schools or organizations. That's one way we've been doing. But the way that we've modified things now is so that individuals in the community can get free books using the online checkout process through JLC Book Sale to schedule their time to come pick them out. And they get the free coupon through Give My Books. So it takes a good amount of people to set this all up, but we've actually automated most of the process that we can now get down to running it with just myself, and we have 5 other people who run the whole business together.
We're joined by Todd Whalen, the founder of Give My Books. More information in a couple of places, jlcbooksale.com as well as givemybooks.com, where you can learn more information about both the JLC Bookstore and learn more information about Give My Books, how you can get involved, how you can help them out, as they aim to give 50,000 books away to the community for free this year in this effort. And so you're based out of Washtenaw County, and for the most part, this effort has been based in Washtenaw County, with the goal now expanding from 30,000 books that was the end result approximately last year to your goal this year for 50,000 books. How is that effort going to change? Are you expanding outside of your local area in Washtenaw County to surrounding counties?
Yes, absolutely. So what we've done now is we are having parts of Livingston County, Oakland County, Wayne, and Monroe counties. So basically from where we're at, it's a approximately 30-mile radius that we've expanded our pickup area, and thus helping us to get more books so that we can actually give away more books.
What's the response been like in the community year after year as you are giving these books away? Because there seems to be, off the top of my head, there would be a couple of different places these books would go. They go to individual families that may struggle financially, not be able to afford getting new books and keeping their children and their families engaged in reading and that creative mindset that comes from reading these books, but also to teachers and schools throughout our multiple county area that this effort's going to be put forth in, that we've seen, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, have had to really tighten their budgets. And often for these educators, even outside of the times of COVID, they're often buying these books out of pocket. So free books can be immensely helpful. What's the response been like from the community in Washtenaw County since 2008, as you've been doing this effort to provide these books for free in your community?
Yeah, the response has been fabulous. We've had utter appreciation for what we're doing, especially, like you mentioned, teachers. They buy their own books. That's a huge burden, really. And then especially we found out during the pandemic, not everybody had access to books. They couldn't get their school libraries and things like that. So there's a big need for books to be given, especially over different economic zones. Not everybody makes the same amount of money and can afford books. So them being given free we've received so many either letters of appreciation, even from schools. One of my favorite things ever was getting a handwritten card from a bunch of little elementary school kids in their own handwriting. I mean, that touched my heart. So we've had a tremendous response from the community in what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure that helps in these individual classrooms too, to mix up and break up these lessons and give a more extensive look from the literacy standpoint in these classrooms, and of course giving that ever necessary relief, especially financially, to teachers. I know from the experiences of my aunt, who is an elementary school teacher at Brick Elementary in Ypsilanti over there in Washtenaw County, that the expenses that our teachers are putting forth just to do the bare minimum, at the very least, to teach the kids in their classes every year is immense. And so having these opportunities, not only does it help the teachers financially, and that's great, it really helps to enrich that learning experience for the kids as well.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. And one other thing what was I going to mention? Oh, yeah, the Ypsilanti Community Schools, to help them, even in Ypsilanti Community Schools. This is what I was going to say. This is an ongoing thing. This isn't just because it's 50,000 books, poof, we stop. We want teachers every year to continue to get books for their students, their new students, and have new books for their own classroom. So this is an ongoing thing. Yeah, we have a goal of 50,000 this year, but that's just us getting started. We just had to set a goal, and that was a good goal to start.
Yeah, if you're able to get 30,000 books, that jump to 50,000 with that effort in the community, especially as you expand out, that's a good baseline, but you can get a lot further than that, especially if you have the kind of effort that obviously you've had from the community over these many years that Give My Books has been going on. Todd Whalen joins us. He's the founder of Give My Books. More information, givemybooks.com, as well as jlcbooksale.com. And so, of course, JLC Book Sale is connected to your bookstore, and you're able to sell books through that business. And if books aren't flying off the shelves, there's an easy out there. You put them in to Give My Books. You're giving them away in the community. Someone's going to enjoy that content. But other than that, directly from your business operation, where are the rest of these books coming from?
The books, where do they come from? They come from the community. They're 100% from the community. We actually don't buy any books, and so because people give these to us, we pick up directly from people's front porches or from their, they put their books in their garage for us, and they just schedule online at givemybooks.com. We also have people that have used us, like thrift stores, nonprofits. We have universities. There's a whole list of even organizations that use our libraries. We actually pick up for a whole bunch of libraries throughout all of Southeast Michigan. So not just individual homes, but that does make up the majority, as we picked up from thousands and thousands of people over these last 13 years.
We're joined by Todd Whalen. He is the founder of Give My Books, an effort that is hoping to raise 50,000 different books to spread throughout the community for free to different organizations and individuals in Washtenaw County and as well in surrounding counties, also including Livingston, Oakland, Wayne, and Monroe counties. He joins us on the Megacast. More information on givemybooks.com. And so if people are interested in donating books, what's the best way for them to go about getting in contact with you and going through that process of collecting those books and ultimately getting them into circulation so they can be distributed in our communities?
Excellent. So the best way is to use our website, givemybooks.com. You'll find the pickup request form on there. It's a very simple form, just your name, address, the basic information that we need, and then you schedule your own date. Each zip code has a zone, so we pick up on certain days depending on which zip code you're in. And then you just fill out the form, and what you'll get a confirmation email that you're on our schedule, along with instructions that you'll need for the book pickup. Then the day of the pickup, all you do is leave your books or other items out on the front porch or any other safe, dry location that you've told us. And then we'll come by between 8 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. at night, and we'll come and pick all those books up. And then you'll even get a reminder email the day before you have a pickup, and we'll confirm that we did a good job afterwards with an email saying, hey, did we get your books? And then that'll complete the transaction. That's how they get back into circulation.
We're joined by Todd Whalen from Give My Books. You can learn more information, givemybooks.com, as Todd is the founder of the organization. You can also learn more information on jlcbooksale.com. We're joined by Todd Whalen, founder of Give My Books. And so we talk about getting involved in the donation. What about in the distribution? If people would like to help Give My Books collect and distribute these books, how can they get involved with volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, so if anyone wants to be involved with that, they can contact us through our website or just a direct email, actually. So I'm Todd, so todd@givemybooks.com is a great way. That's my email address. And if you absolutely need to, you can find our phone number on the website, which you can call or text and let us know that you are interested in helping, and we'll work that out. We definitely need volunteers, especially for our summer book program that we may speak about.
So 50,000 books, 30,000 last year, 50,000 is the base goal for this year's effort. They're going to a number of different places throughout our communities and helping a whole lot of people. If people are in need, if they're teachers, if there are organizations, if there are individual families that are in need of some books, how can they go about getting those books through this effort as we're giving away thousands of books for free in our communities?
Yep. So there's two different ways at the moment. One is going to givemybooks.com. There is a teacher request form that can be filled out, and that also includes homeschool families or really anybody who wants them. That's just a request form for you to get free books from us. And what happens is, especially if you're a teacher or organization, once we verify all your information and approve you, we send you a coupon code that you can then use for jlcbooksale.com. If you have bulk books, we'll drop them off. But if you are just getting, say, 10, 20, 40 books, you can schedule a time to come pick them out yourself. So that's how people can get those books if they want them.
What's really interesting about this effort, Todd, and what's a really truly fascinating aspect of the Give My Books effort is that you're collecting all these books and you're storing them and you're running this operation out of your own home. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It certainly is.
That's wild to think about. They have these thousands of books coming into circulation through this effort that at any given time theoretically would be in your home. How are you able to manage that, having that operation out of your home and then helping so many people, and not only now just in Washtenaw County, but in surrounding counties too?
Yeah, it's a challenge. So what we did is at our home, we built a 864 square foot pole barn. That serves as our warehouse. And then my parents' garage, where JLC Book Sale is, well, I should say at my parents' house, which is 2 courts down from ours, we made their garage into a bookstore. That's where the year-round JLC bookstore is, where people can come pick out those books. But at our own home, the key really is we can process a whole bunch of books because nothing really stays at our place. They're all processed and they are sorted and sent out back into the community, either to other bookstores, to other booksellers, or given away back into the community through what we've been talking about.
We're joined by Todd Whalen, founder of Give My Books. You can learn more information in a couple of places, jlcbooksale.com or by visiting givemybooks.com. And if you'd like to get involved through donations, if you'd like to obtain some of these books for your classroom, for your local organization, for yourself or someone that you know who may be in need of these books, you can get in contact with Todd. Todd@givemybooks.com is his email, or visit givemybooks.com and you can get in contact with him that way. So, Todd, another thing on the JLC side, your summer book sale events are coming up. Can you tell us about these events? I understand that they're held in your backyard. When can we expect this to be happening, and what's the fun in all of this?
That's right. Actually, it's tremendous fun. It's a lot of fun. We've set it up so that throughout all of our property, we use our front yard, our driveway, side, and backyard. We put out 15 to 20,000 books, and we categorize them. So, you have your kids' fiction, nonfiction books. So they're easily found, and it's enjoyable. So every book is $1. The sales last from Wednesday to Saturday. But Wednesday is a special day because it's a teachers only day where they come and they get the best selection, and they also get 10% off of the already inexpensive books. But then everyone else can come. It's a huge event that we usually have. We do them 4 times a year, our summer events, in May, June, July, and August. So when we do those, we have usually 2,000 to 3,000 people that come to each one of those sales at our home in 3 days. So it's a well-organized, very fun event where people can get their books, and it's very enjoyable.
More information on givemybooks.com or jlcbooksale.com to learn more about Give My Books effort, aiming to give away 50,000 free books at the bare minimum. This year, JLC Book Sale will be holding its summer book sale events from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. at 2091 Stratton Court in Ann Arbor. The following dates will be Wednesday, May 18th through Saturday, May 21st, Wednesday, June 22nd through Saturday, June 25th, Wednesday, July 20th through Saturday, July 23rd, and Wednesday, August 24th through Saturday, August 27th. In addition to books, Give My Books also collects and sells DVDs, audiobooks, video games, puzzles, and board games. Books are available for $1 each at the summer event. We're joined by Todd Whalen, founder of Give My Books, and also from jlcbooksale.com on the Michigan Megacast. Todd, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know about JLC Book Sale, or of course about Give My Books?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things I want everyone to know right now is a coupon code that we are giving out to everybody. This is to jumpstart our giving away efforts. So there's one per person, the limit on it, but it's 10K free book giveaway. So it's 10K, 10K free book giveaway. That is the coupon code that the first 1,000 people that use that coupon code on jlcbooksale.com, the books, it's basically a $12 coupon because 10 books cost $12. But you get your 10 books free, and we're doing that for the first 1,000 people, and that jumpstarts us with 10,000 books being given away just as soon as we have 1,000 people who are interested.
That code, 10K free book giveaway, 10K free book giveaway, givemybooks.com or jlcbooksale.com. Todd, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. We're joined now by a award-winning playwright and a lecturer in theater and playwriting at Oakland University. Kitty Dubin joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Kitty, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So can you tell us about your playwriting career? Before you got to Oakland University, and as you've been at Oakland University, tell us a little bit about your career and how it led you to ultimately teaching the next generation of playwrights about your craft.
Well, two things. I've always been a teacher. I started out actually in Cleveland, Ohio as a middle school teacher, and then moved to Detroit 52 years ago when I was 2 years old. Haha, only kidding. And then got my master's degree, and so I've always loved teaching, but I started writing plays when I was got my master's degree at Wayne State and had to write a play. It won a contest, it was produced, and I thought, wow, this is something I can do. So I started pursuing playwriting at the same time as teaching, and my two passions finally merged when I approached Oakland in 1997 to teach. And I've been continuing with my own career at the same time I've been teaching for these past 25 years at Oakland.
So playwriting, much like any kind of writing, there's a different formula, there's a different approach that goes into writing a stage play versus a screenplay, writing a screenplay or a stage play versus a novel or a short story. So for you, where does your process start as you're devising a story and ultimately building that characterization and building that plot for the stage?
Well, I want to just pick up on what you just said, because the first thing I do in my classes is differentiate between a play script and a novel and a screenplay, because those kids have seen a million movies, read a million novels, and probably seen one or two plays maybe in their lives. So it's really important, because a play is its own animal. It's separate. It has similar story elements, but it's very different. Because when you're reading something, you can, like take your time and, go back a few paragraphs if you haven't understood something. But a play comes at you very, very fast, and you have to digest it as you're going along. So that's very important. But what I stress with my students is really telling a story through dialogue, because it's all dialogue, of someone going through some kind of journey of change where they're a little bit different by the end of the play than they are when they start the play.
We're joined by Katie Dubin, award-winning playwright and lecturer in playwriting at Oakland University in their theater department, joining us on the Megacast. And it's such an important, the writing is so important in any form of entertainment, especially in original storytelling, whether it be for the stage or for the screen, whatever the case may be. The writing is really where it starts. And I don't recall who it was that I had heard say this, but I was watching an interview at some point. No, it was Bryan Cranston. I was watching some interview years ago with Bryan Cranston, who explained what made Breaking Bad such a great show and what made Malcolm in the Middle and other programs he's been on so excellent. And he said, you can have really great performance, but really great performance is never going to overshadow bad writing. Good writing can overshadow bad performance, but it won't be as good. When the two coalesce, you have something that's truly excellent, and that's why it's so important for this next generation of people that are going into show business, particularly for the theater, that they understand the importance of high-quality writing and putting on these great stage plays. And so, when you arrived at Oakland University in 1997, there was no playwriting class, there was no playwriting program at Oakland University. And so for you, as you were envisioning what the needs would be for these future playwrights, given the context of your career up until that point, and as you've progressed through your career and your teaching career as well, how has that program then been developed and then changed over the years to make sure that these students understand just how important playwriting is to the theater?
Oh, there's so much in there. Yeah. I am a huge believer in structure. A play, they talk about a script having good bones, and a play really has to have good bones and really follow, it has to have all the elements of structure, a protagonist, an antagonist, rising action, all these things that you kind of learn in high school, but how to implement those things is another story. So I really stress that, and then it's changed so much over the years because, oh my goodness, I remember the first year I taught, someone wrote a play about coming out. Oh my gosh, that was like, huh? That subject really hadn't been explored. Well, now that, I'm not saying that play would be passé, but it's evolved so much in the culture. So students are writing about different things. We're reading different plays as examples, but I pretty much have stuck all the way through because of my own studies in playwriting and my own learning, as a professional playwright, and going to see so many plays, hundreds and hundreds of plays, what works and what doesn't. And that's what I like to share with my students, both my professional realm and my craft realm. I mean, besides just my master's degree, I've taken many, many different classes from playwrights in, how to write plays.
So theater has changed, entertainment has changed, and certainly the people that are in the industry has changed over the course of many years, even in just the last few years. And so over the 25 years that you've been teaching playwriting at Oakland University, how has your approach then had to be modified to, A, the changing paradigms in show business and how that context provides guidance for the future of playwriting, but also for the changes in how students learn and how ultimately this next generation of writers are going to be approaching their craft?
Yes. Well, again, I really like to stress the model of structure because a lot of kids come in and think, oh, I can be very abstract and I like to be mysterious and I don't want to pander to the audience. And they don't realize it's not pandering to make it clear what you're talking about. So again, structure, character, dialogue, making sure characters are relatable, that one can follow the dialogue. And what we do in class is replicate the process that professional playwrights go through, which is after they've written a first draft, the playwright casts the play within the class, and we read it out loud, and then discuss what is working, and then what needs to be fixed in a rewrite. And then they go back and rewrite, because it is so different from short story or novel where you just read the play silently. You don't know until you read a play aloud, because that's how it's intended to be presented, what's working or not. You find out, oh, that was funny, or I thought it was funny, but then it isn't funny when we read it, or that didn't land. I thought I was communicating that, but something is missing, and then you find you have to add something, or you need more exposition because you didn't realize the couple was married, or they, whatever. So you learn your reading aloud in the class is like your biggest rewrite tool, because that tells you what you need to attend to in your rewrite.
Yeah, collaboration is so important in any form of entertainment, really in any industry, especially in today's world. And so having that opportunity to go through those rewrites, to get that vision of yours out there and have other people look it over, but also to, as you said, visualize the writing as it's meant to be delivered, and that's a good guidance for rewriting and for further building your story. We're joined by Kitty Dubin, award-winning playwright and lecturer at Oakland University in theater and playwriting, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. This is really interesting, and it's close to my heart because it has parallels to something I participated in when I was in college at Michigan State, between their communications department and their theater department. It was a project called Theater to Film, where students would write a screenplay that would then be converted into a stage play, or vice versa, and it would be produced both as a stage play and then shot as a feature film, and later would be then showed at the Traverse City Film Festival. Very similar thing has happened over at Oakland University that you've been involved with. You and the late Professor Tom Suda, who was teaching directing, came together to present a showcase where directing students would work with playwriting students to collaborate and produce a play together. Can you talk about your collaboration with Tom Suda in creating this program, and then the impact of a program like this on the education of theater students really across the board, wherever area of interest in the theater that they're looking to go into?
Well, yeah, since I've been teaching there, I have always been on the lookout for places where these plays that my students are writing can be performed in front of an audience. I mean, it's one thing to read it in the class, it's another thing to be in front of an audience. And just besides Oakland, my students have had plays in many, many festivals all throughout Michigan theaters and beyond. But at Oakland, I approached Tom Suda because he was teaching the directing class. And, each director was always directing a play from a book of plays. And I said, why don't your directing students, each one direct one of my student-written plays? So we did that for a few semesters, and then Professor Suda passed away, and then I looked around again, and this past year I did the same thing with Professor David Graham, where and what was great about that is his directing students were showcased, my playwriting students were showcased, and the Oakland actors were showcased. And I cannot tell you what a thrill it is when you are starting to write plays and you have one performed in front of an audience and you get the response that you intended to have.
Yeah, and it's great opportunities, too, for these students to collaborate and to build those partnerships, build those relationships with who will be their colleagues in their profession in theater, because there's a saying that I was told when I was in school at Michigan State, when working mostly on the film side of things, that it's a big world, but it's a small world. And I think that applies to anywhere in entertainment. Having those opportunities to build those relationships, I mean, those can be great partnerships, or at the very least, help you hone your skills in one area that may be lacking or may need some improvement while you're helping somebody else. And that kind of collaboration, you speak to how important that is really to bolstering the education and the purpose of classes like yours and classes like David Graham's and the late Tom Suda's in building this next generation of theater professionals.
Totally. And it's a wonderful, it's like, there is none of that, like when we have our discussion, our feedback sessions about the plays. I've never had anyone be snarky or mean. They are extremely generous in their praise when it is warranted, and they are also very honest and direct when they find something that isn't clear or needs to be bolstered or whatever. And it's really like a supportive little creative village of souls. Really, everybody's sort of rooting for each other to be able to produce their best work.
We're joined by Kitty Dubin, an award-winning playwright and a lecturer at Oakland University in theater and in playwriting, joining us on the Megacast. And so you have had a long career in playwriting. You've met a lot of people over the years and taught a lot of people over the years that are professionals in theater and are professional playwrights themselves. For those that may not be Oakland University students or may not be able to take your class but are interested in playwriting, do have a passion for playwriting, want to be a playwright themselves, what is your lasting advice for those people as they look to start their playwriting journey and maybe even build a career in theater playwriting?
They have to learn what the form is first. I mean, I know a few people actually in town who were screenwriters or prose writers, and they wrote a play, and these are really good writers, and they sent them to me for feedback, you know, and what was shocking to me is here they are, professional writers, but they weren't plays. So the first thing is they really have to know how a play differs from other forms of writing. And I always give my students a bibliography. There are not a million, but there are quite a few good playwriting books that, you know, delineate what you have to have and what elements have to be in a play and how it differs. So I would say to anyone, either take a class or at least read a book so you actually know what a play should be. Because I know a lot of theaters get submissions and they're just not plays, and they're going to be tossed out before the first paragraph's read.
Kitty, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You can learn more about Kitty's class and more about the theater department over at Oakland University by visiting their website at oakland.edu. We're going to take a break here on the Michigan Megacast. On the other side, we'll catch up with our hotels and our restaurant industry here in the state of Michigan with John McNamara, the Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. That's coming up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Restaurants, hotels, and other businesses have continued to operate in a balancing act of sorts, promoting public safety while maintaining their bottom line. Here to talk about where the industry is and its recovery and to forecast the near future is John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. John, thanks for being back with us.
Thanks for having me again.
Appreciate having you on. So more than half of restaurant operators expect recruiting and retaining employees to be their top challenge here in 2022. Are we starting to see that labor in the restaurant industry and lodging is still a huge problem? Is it starting to improve? Where is it at right now?
It's not good. I wish I could say that, it was starting to improve, but actually we just had a Capitol Day here in Lansing yesterday and had about 100 members in town to meet with their legislators and sort of discuss the state of the industry. And the number one issue that came up in every single meeting was labor force. And they're doing everything they can to try to get people to come to work, but they're having still a very, very hard time getting people to come. And what's even worse is sometimes they'll get someone for a shift or two, and then that person will just stop showing up.
And so give us an insight on just how that does affect these businesses, because even the most successful restaurant or the most successful hotel that's able to maintain itself financially, if they don't have the staff in place, that has significant impact on the way they operate their business and then ultimately their bottom line. What are some of those impacts that it has on just their day-to-day operations?
So the impacts on day-to-day are they're having to, close on certain days, or maybe, not offer breakfast, or, just close certain sections of the restaurant, or for servers to, some servers maybe had 3 or 4 tables. Now they're taking 7 or 8. So, people might walk in and say, oh man, that restaurant's busy, the industry's back. That is incredibly not true. What people don't see is, one, maybe they're dining in prime time on a Friday night, but what they don't see is the Tuesday night when restaurants are, still kind of empty, but also restaurants make money on table turns. And if you have a person who's doing 7 or 8 tables, there's probably going to be a wait, and people might want to wait, and then, they're just not going to turn that table 3-4 times, a meal like they're used to doing. They might turn it twice. So still a lot of way to go to build this industry back. And labor force is going to be one of them. And then the supply chain stabilizing is going to be another one.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the program on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. And so what are restaurants and what are hotels doing at this time? And in the past, there's been a number of incentives. There's been signing bonuses. There's been increased base wages and so on. There's been a number of different incentives that have been thrown out there over the last several months, really the last year, to try to get people to fill these jobs. What have our restaurants and our hotel businesses found to be those incentives that work, and how are they modifying their approach to continue to try to attract people to these jobs?
So I would say I think the incentives are largely gone. And some of those worked and some of those didn't. It was a valiant effort. But right now, what people are doing is trying to change laws to make it so that, younger kids can work. You have 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are eager and want to work and, want some spending money. But, the process for doing that is slightly more complicated. So, for example, there's a bill sponsored by Representative Michelle Hoytinga, who represents the Cadillac area, that would allow 17-year-olds, to run an alcoholic drink to a table. Currently, state of Michigan, it's 18. But we are working with her in order to change that to try to allow people to enter the workforce and do different things they previously couldn't do at a younger age. Because those are the kids who are saying, "I'll show up. I want to work. I want to make money." So it's going to be changing, but I think we're probably still 6 months to a year away from this labor force stabilizing. The labor force in Michigan and the hospitality industry is still about 60,000 people shy of where it was pre-COVID.
And so, John, as much as the labor issue can cause problems for these restaurants, ultimately, as you said, it's about turning these tables over. It's about bringing customers in to buy these products, and that ultimately go to funding these businesses and keeping them alive. We've seen in the past where COVID-19 has surged, and there's been a significant reduction in the number of people that have gone to restaurants, and then, of course, the period of time earlier on in the pandemic, in the earliest portions of the pandemic, when restaurants were closed to in-person dining altogether. At this time, what is the state of in-person dining? Are we finding that Michiganders are going back out to restaurants in more normal succession, especially given that the most recent surge of COVID-19 has significantly relaxed and seems like we're heading in a good direction?
I think we're headed in a good direction, and I would say I think that day is hopefully coming, but right now you're still seeing a lot of takeout, and you're seeing a lot of people who are, would prefer to eat outside, which is hopefully going to be a reality sooner than later here in Michigan. But you're still seeing people utilize igloos, the outdoor heaters, the sort of greenhouse type of places. So there are some people who are ready to get right back, but there is still definitely a sect of the population that is still somewhat nervous about dining indoors. And all we can do is keep stressing that before COVID, the main goal of restaurants was to have as clean of a restaurant as possible. During COVID, obviously some of that stepped up, but these places were vanguards of safety and health before, and continue to want to be able to do that. But it's just going to take some time, I think, for public trust to come back in that sector.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. More information on the website, including career opportunities in the restaurant industry and in the hotel industry here in Michigan, on the website mrla.org. That is mrla.org to learn more information and get in contact with Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. So on the hotels front, John, lodging is a critical industry in the state of Michigan for our tourist industry, especially in the summer months and in the fall months, which are peak season for tourism here in the Great Lakes state. Now, where are our hotels at in their economic recovery from the effects of the pandemic? It's a different ballgame than it is with restaurants, but there are some similar wrinkles in there that are affecting hotels in similar ways and in very different ways than our restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, the hotels, as I've said before, the hotels are the ones that really got lost in all of this, because their economic outlook is just as bleak in some areas as it is for the restaurant side of what I do day to day in this association. Business travel is still very, very, very slow. I was in a hotel 2 weekends ago on business, and they were thrilled I was there 2 nights. The one-night business travel is largely gone, and I think some of that business travel may never come back, because I think companies have looked at bottom lines and said, well, if we can do this over Zoom and conference calls, why spend the time and money? And it can be far more efficient. Leisure travel, I'm hoping this summer is going to be back to normal. Obviously, Northern Michigan in the summer, in my opinion, is one of the best places in the world to be. So hopefully we have another robust tourism season up north. They are definitely ready for it. But hotels are having just as much trouble. The housekeeping side is very tough. There's a lot of hotels who, in some instances, could fill rooms at capacity, but are now not doing it simply because they don't have people to be able to even clean the rooms every second or third day. So continuing to work there, the H-2B and the J-1 visas at the federal level are very, very important for the hotel industry. And luckily, Congress realizes that, and the Michigan delegation realizes that. And Congresswoman Slotkin and Senator Stabenow have both been very helpful on that front to try to increase the number of H-2B and J-1 visas that are issued. Typically, there's about 30-ish thousand issued. Right now, there's about applications for 130. So there are people who are wanting to come here and wanting to fill these jobs. It's just getting the correct mechanisms in place to allow them to do so.
Yeah, and that will be critical for the hotel industry, for the restaurant industry, and for other industries, too, that are looking to fill these jobs that Americans,
Absolutely.
for one reason or another, are not clamoring to fill, despite having great opportunities in these industries. If we're allowing more people to come in on visas and we're expediting that process to allow good people that are willing to work these jobs to come in, that's going to be a big help for everyone across the board in our economy. We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of the of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, with us on the Megacast. More information on their website, mrla.org. That's mrla.org. Last month, the MRLA formed the Hospitality Training Institute of Michigan, or HTIM, to help improve attributes and skill sets for those in these industries through a 12-week training and certificate program. Can you talk about the Training Institute, the goals of this training program, and the ways it can help professionals in these industries advance their careers?
Absolutely. So the HTIM would be very similar to our ProStart program. And ProStart is a high school culinary program that helps train this next generation of leaders. That would be more on the restaurant side. But obviously, as we merged and the pandemic hit, we realized that the hotel industry is going to need a similar program. So the goal of the Hospitality Training Institute of Michigan is to train the next generation of leaders in the sort of hotel lodging industry. So it is a 12-week program. It's a certificate. But, it is a pathway to a job and to a career. And there's, the hospitality industry, there's lots of jobs available where you can make a very good living with, a high school diploma or some proper training. But what we really saw during the pandemic was, those employees that were willing to work became de facto managers, became de facto supervisors without the proper training of knowing what it means to lead a team and run a business and then sort of work in this industry. So the goal of HTIM is to train people in order to be able to walk in and then be leaders sort of in this industry and grow. So we have a Midland group going right now. We have a Lansing group going right now. And then we have an online cohort starting in April.
And so, John, if people in the industry would be interested in taking advantage of this training program, how can they get involved?
They can go to our website, and then, Amanda Smith at MRLA is our Executive Vice President of Education and Training, and she would be the best person to talk to if you're interested in getting involved. But we are absolutely looking to grow this program. We've had some very good meetings with legislative leaders and appropriations chairs in Lansing on getting this off the ground. And we think, unfortunately, the workforce that has not come back yet is more than likely never coming back. So, we are now going to have to train and find a whole new generation of leaders in this industry and in this workforce. And we believe between ProStart and HTIM, that will be a very good start to making that happen.
Yeah, great training opportunities available through the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association on their website, mrla.org/training. That is mrla.org/training. You can also find more information across the board from the MRLA on their website, mrla.org. You mentioned the ProStart program also for those younger individuals in the state at the high school level looking to get into the restaurant industry in particular. You last week you were part of the MRLA's ProStart culinary competition that was held in Lansing. Can you talk about that competition and the way that it gives that opportunity, that hands-on experience to these kids that are in the ProStart program to hone their craft, but also get both some judgment, but also advice from professionals in the industry?
Yeah, so ProStart is in about 70 schools. And unfortunately, 2020, it was completely canceled. In 2021, we were able to do portions of it online. So this was our first year back in person. And it is always one of my favorite 2 days of the year. It's a ton of work, but to watch kids from all over the state come and be able to show their craft and learn skills. But then, as you mentioned, we have executive chefs and have leaders in the industry come and offer them constructive criticisms and way they can grow. Is just so fun to watch. So we were super excited to be back in person this year. We only had 13 schools, which is a little low, but we were just happy to be back in person. So hopefully next year, all of this is behind us and every single school that is usually here is able to attend, and maybe the program has grown. But, these kids walk out and are ready to work in a restaurant on day one, coming out of high school. So it's an incredible program. We've already gone in and asked for an increase in funding to try to grow this program. But it was so great to see, high school kids be able to be out and be passionate. And those kids work really, really hard. And it means a lot to them that they're able to do this. So it's a wonderful program.
John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the program. You can view all those interviews and our full episode from today sometime mid to late afternoon. They'll be posted on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We'll also be able to learn more information about all of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that join us every day live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon and live to tape as well. Big thank you also to our crew making this program possible. Calvin Brown, our technical director, here with me in the studio each and every day. Our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, out at the office of My Michigan TV in Troy, Michigan, helping all the guests with Zoom and any technical issues that they may have. The king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, getting everybody ready to come on the show and helping us get ready to have an informed conversation with them. And of course, Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control, helping us on and off the air. Coming up next on My Michigan TV, it's Steve Leto Live, followed by Larry and Maddie Live. We will return Tuesday morning at 10 a.m.